The UK has amongst the highest rates of family breakups in the developed world. That's according to an international study.
The report by the Social Trends Institute found that 3 in 5 British children whose parents aren't married experience a family breakdown before they reach their teens.
And a third of children born to married couples will experience it too. In contrast, only 15% of Belgian children and 6% of Spanish children born to cohabiting parents see their family split.
So why are figures higher in the UK? Well, Professor Brad Wilcox co-authored the study and joins us this morning from London. Thank you very much for your time on this today. So, headlines-wise, the UK on this issue particularly doesn't compare favourably with the rest of the world when it comes to this stability of the family.
Yeah, Dan, that's right. We see higher family instability here in the United Kingdom than you do in much of Europe and much of the developed world. And I think probably it's really for 2 different reasons. One is there's more individualism here, both in the UK and the US, and that sort of tends to fuel family instability. And we also see more economic inequality in these 2 countries, which again have high rates of family instability compared to countries like, the Netherlands and France.
In terms of people sort of staying together, I mean, would you advocate that happening even if people are involved in an unhappy marriage?
Well, I think we have to recognize that marital happiness tends to fluctuate in most relationships. Most couples have periods of difficulty and disappointment. And so given that, in most cases, the best thing for your kids' sake, if that's really your paramount concern, is to figure out a way to renew your marriage and go the distance. Now, of course, there are cases involving things like domestic violence where that's not the case. But generally speaking, our kids are much more likely to flourish when we can figure out a way to make things work.
I'm sure, Bradford, there's many people watching this morning who aren't married, who, cohabit and have a very happy family. What would you say to them, and how can you sort of address those figures in the light of that?
Well, we see in this new data is that cohabiting couples are about twice as likely to break up compared to married parents. And of course, there are many cohabiting families, as you just noted, who are doing quite well. But there are others who are vulnerable. And for those who are vulnerable, I think it's important for them to figure out how to forge a strong and stable relationship going forward. Things like focusing on being kind to one another, focusing on their mutual commitment, but I think also having kind of a serious conversation about their future. We see as a lot of couples today drift into cohabitation. They don't decide, they just kind of live together. And so what we're sort of seeing in this report, I think, is the importance of having those conversations, building a common future orientation, and if you think you have what it takes to go the distance, putting a ring on it, as Beyonce would say.
Some of those other countries, particularly in Europe, that seem to be better at this. So are they focused far more on sort of, is family a bit more of a priority? Is that the case? Because you were saying that sort of rampant individualism is behind some of these problems in the UK and in the US.
Yeah, my sense is that a country like the Netherlands, for instance, just has a more, outside maybe of Amsterdam, has a kind of more traditional orientation towards family and kind of just tends to have folks who kind of put their spouse first, who put their kids first, and are willing to kind of roll with the punches more than what you see here in the United Kingdom as well as in the United States. So I think there is a difference in orientation towards family that you see in many European countries besides the United Kingdom.
Bradford, thank you very much for that this morning. It's really interesting. As Bradford Wilcox.